I'm Scott Lucas. This is today's EA Worldview on Iran. Iran, Pakistan, and the story of the kidnapped border guards. What it really means. Iranian media have been filled with headlines for days about the fate of 5 kidnapped border guards seized on February the 6th by the Sunni insurgency Jaish ul-Adl in southeastern Iran. The men were taken across the border into Pakistan, and 10 days ago, one of them was executed. Jaish ul-Adl then said that in another 10 days, that is right about now, another man would be killed, unless its demands, primarily the return of 300 prisoners, were met. But what does this story really mean for Iran? Is this merely a little local episode that will go away, or is there wider significance? Here's your 4-point guide. Point 1, a domestic sense of insecurity. Make no mistake about it. Those headlines in the Iranian media are not just to grab readers. This is a real sense of nervousness. There is a fear amongst the Iranian military, amongst Iranian politicians and clerics, that the border is not safe. You see, 3 years ago, the regime, including the Revolutionary Guards, put out assurances that it had quelled the insurgency threat. It did so because it captured and executed a man named Abdulmalik Riji, the head of the Sunni insurgency Jundullah. Jundullah were in effect quelled, but there were 2 successor organizations that sprung up, and one of those organizations, Jaish al-Adl, has been especially effective in carrying out attacks on Iranian forces since last summer. In last October, in one assault, it killed 14 border guards, including 3 members of the Revolutionary Guards, and it has continued to hit Iranian targets. Just this past weekend, the deputy head of Iran's border force said, or rather admitted, that at least one armed conflict was occurring each day on the frontier. Not one armed conflict each month or each week, but each day. Point 2, Iran's sense of weakness abroad. Iran fears isolation. We hear about this with respect to the nuclear talks, that it wants to make sure it has friends. We hear it with respect to Syria, where Iran is committed to the defense of President Assad. But make no mistake, it also fears isolation, for example, in Central Asia, on its eastern borders. This episode highlights the fact that Iran doesn't necessarily have friends in dealing with this insurgency. There's no one it can reach out to if the threat continues to escalate. Does that mean that Iran, in effect, will not put down the insurgency and counter it? No. But the fact is that Iran has been working now for years on the theme that it is being besieged by enemies. Enemies in the US, enemies from Europe, enemies closer to home, enemies in the Middle East. And while that use of the enemy's rhetoric in some sense can try to bring up or whip up domestic support, it also can have an effect. Perhaps we are weak. Perhaps we are under attack, not only from other states, but from groups within. Point 3, problems with Pakistan. The Iranian rhetoric against Pakistan, to the point where some MPs have been demanding that the Iranian military cross the border and retrieve the kidnapped men, is a sign of wider political issues. In particular, Pakistan has angered Iran because it has said it will not complete its section of a major oil pipeline. It says, we don't have the $2 billion to finish up the deal. Iran said, all right, we'll give you the money. And Pakistan said, no thanks. We don't want to owe you. Rumors are flying. Did the Pakistanis turn down the offer to complete the pipeline because of pressure from the US? Did they turn it down because of a visit last month by the Saudis? Whatever the reason, Tehran is not happy with Pakistan, and the border incident has merely escalated that unhappiness. Point 4, and the biggest point. One person's threat is another person's opportunity. The Revolutionary Guards announced in the middle of the crisis last week that it was going to take control of a 180-mile section of the border between Pakistan and southeastern Iran. 120 watchtowers would be built. The Revolutionary Guards commander, Mohammad Ali Jafari, went down and inspected his forces and said, we're ready. When he did so, that wasn't just a signal to Jaish al-Adl, Pakistan. It was a signal to his own president. The Revolutionary Guards are in a fight for influence with President Rouhani. They don't like his nuclear policy. They don't like the fact that he told them to stay out of politics. They don't like his reforms. So they will attack him on the cultural front, on the political front, and on the economic front. They will defend their interest. So Jafari, just after saying, we're taking control of the border, also said, our role has to be recognized in Iran's politics and economics. We call on the administration to do so. In other words, those 5 kidnapped men, one of whom is dead, have served a purpose for Iran's military leadership to wage its fight with its president. And the longer that the kidnapping goes on, the more that fight will escalate. I'm Scott Lucas, and this has been today's EA Worldview on Iran.